All right, so our resident artist, Jason Campbell, y'all in the back of the room, live and in person, comic book scholar and nerd. Thank you, Jason. Supervillain Parables is our current series. Last 2 weeks we've been in Marvel. Now we shift. We are now in DC Comics this week, and next week we shift. We're equal opportunity here, okay? So by round of applause, how many of you have ever heard of, before this series, before today, how many of you have ever heard of Reverse Flash? I said by round of applause, young lady. Okay, wow, that's more than I thought. That was 6 or 7. Okay, that was 6 or 7. She's all slinking in her chair because she raised her hand. I said energy. Yeah, I had never heard of this until I was working with Jason Campbell on the concepts of supervillains, and we were listing all of them, and he was like, Reverse Flash. And I was like, come again? And I never heard of them until this. But here's the story for the regular people, for the rest of us, okay? In the 25th century, in the future, there's a dude named Eobard Thawne. His first name is Eobard, so you can save that for any future children, anything like that. Eobard Thawne. He grows up in a world where, everyone has decided who's the greatest hero of all time. It's Barry Allen, the Flash. And Barry Allen is a hero from history to people in the 25th century. He's a legend. There are museums dedicated to Barry Allen, records of his existence, stories of impossible courage, and a legacy that just feels untouchable. Eobard Thawne is a curator at the museum for the Flash, but he doesn't take any pride in it. He wants to be someone else. And Thawne becomes obsessed with the Flash. He wants to be just like him. He doesn't just want to understand the Flash. He wants to be him. So he studies Barry Allen obsessively. Each case file, every recorded battle, every detail of the accident that gave Barry Allen his powers, he memorizes it all. And Eobard doesn't just admire it, he builds his life around it. Eventually, he does the unthinkable, and he recreates the accident that gave Barry Allen his powers, and it works. Chemicals, lightning, precision, timing, it works, and he becomes a speedster like the Flash. So he puts on a suit modeled after the Flash's suit, and he begins acting like a hero. However, in Thawne's world, in the future, there is very little crime. There are few opportunities for heroism. Therefore, Thawne creates his own hero moments. He creates these moments where he puts people in danger, and then he's the one who saves them to make himself look like a hero and to make him feel good about himself. So you can already see the red flags here, okay? You already see the red flags. Out of sheer coincidence in the comic books, Barry Allen, the Flash, accidentally travels into the future, into the 25th century. And one of the first people he meets is Eobard Thawne. And Eobard Thawne is blown away. He's so hyped to meet the Flash. He shows him around, shows him the wonders of the 25th century, stops a few crimes along the way. And what Barry Allen's visit is, though, it's Charles Dickens for Eobard Thawne. It's the best of times and the worst of times. Because Barry Allen discovers that Thawne is putting people's lives into danger in order to manufacture hero moments. So Barry Allen fights Eobard Thawne, stops him, and puts him in prison, basically. And so Eobard Thawne serves his sentence, but he says, he vows that when he gets out, he's going to get on the right path. He's going to show Barry Allen. He's going to be on the right path. He's a changed man. So later, Eobard Thawne, after prison, he travels back in time to the 21st century. He wants to meet Barry Allen again and show him how far he's come. And when he gets to the 21st century, he really actually obsessively stalks Barry Allen for days, just watching his every move the whole time, singing The Police under his breath. Every breath I take, I'll be watching you. Shannon, was that too sexy? Should I bring it down? Bring it down? Okay, cool. So when he sees Barry Allen, he sees him share a moment with a young man whose name is Wally West, who, by the way, is a future The Flash. And when he sees them share a moment of encouragement, him encouraging Barry Allen, encouraging Wally West, he's crushed. Eobard Thawne realizes that Barry treats others with the same encouragement that he was treating him with. Eobard Thawne realizes that he's not his sidekick partner and his only protege. And it was Wally West who really was his protege, who would become the Flash. And this is a powerful kind of jealousy moment where he's like, oh, you weren't my hero, you were everyone's hero, you know? And so Eobard Thawne begins to spiral. And Eobard, who has a Flash suit, redesigns the Flash suit with the same symbol, but he inverts the colors. Instead of mainly red, it's mainly yellow. And it's touched off with a little bit of red where it was touched off with a little bit of yellow. And it's like his twisted mirror, and he takes on a new name, Reverse Flash. And then he does something even darker. He begins traveling through time, not to save lives, but to ruin Barry Allen's life. So there's a lot of time travel in the Flash stories, but Eobard becomes the reverse of everything that Flash is. If Flash saved, Reverse Flash killed. If Flash wanted to build something, Reverse Flash wanted to destroy it. If Flash loved somebody, Reverse Flash hated that person. Eobard Thawne decides to torment Barry Allen the rest of his life. He sabotages his relationships. He even travels through time to rewrite moments of Barry Allen's life just to cause him pain. So, great example of this. He travels through time, goes back to Barry Allen's childhood when he's a young boy, like elementary school. And so it's big Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, like big, strong superpowers, all that. And here's little Barry Allen in school. And he straight up bullies him. Like this grown man starts bullying this little kid. He pushes him down a flight of stairs. He interferes with him, causing him to commit errors in his baseball games. He rips up his textbooks for school. He turns Barry into an outcast. And so Barry would still have a friend and make good friends with this other little boy named Douglas. And they would read comic books together. So Reverse Flash kills this little kid named Douglas, Barry Allen's best friend. This is dark comic book stuff, man. He kills little Doug so that Barry Allen would be sad and alone. Then one day when Barry works up the confidence to go back to school, he goes to school and Reverse Flash shows up at the door of his home and kills Barry Allen's mother. Kills his mom, and then he frames his dad to make it look like his dad is the one who killed his mother. It's insane. Like, dude, get a hobby, okay? So, he is just traveling through time, wrecking Barry Allen's life in any way he can. And then he goes into the future and he manipulates Barry Allen's kids to hate their father. And it's just on and on. He is obsessed with destroying Barry Allen's life. And all this has led to a famous meme that's all over the interwebs. It was me, Barry. So any little problem in life, so sometimes this meme will be accompanied with things like, I expired your milk. It was me, Barry, like that kind of stuff. I made your PC die. It was me, Barry. I stopped the dice on those numbers so you'd lose at Dungeons and Dragons. It was me, Barry. I let the dogs out. It was me, Barry. On and on and on with this meme. And so that's where that comes from if you ever come across that, for those of you who know how to use the interwebs. Reverse Flash is the ultimate hater. He is the ultimate hater. He's the most jealous, pick-me version of a villain that is ever conceived, and literally the embodiment of a troll in a comment section. Reverse Flash is Flash's nemesis. So what's the core theme of Reverse Flash's story? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a progression. It's kind of a family of things. But really, it starts here with this hero worship that leads to comparison, that leads to jealousy, that leads to envy, then rivalry, then obsession. So it's really like the root of it really revolves around envy, but it's like envy is the root, but obsession is the fruit. It just gets to the point where, wow, now he is obsessed with, I'm going to make your life miserable. And so, this is kind of like a best man in a speech where they get up and I'm going to give a speech and I'm going to give you this definition from the dictionary. But I do think it is important to have a definition of what is envy, because it overlaps with jealousy and that kind of stuff. So envy is a feeling of discontent or covetousness with regard to another person's advantages or success or possessions. I want that. I'm not content because I don't have what you have. I don't have the respect that's on your name. I don't have whatever accomplishments you've built up. And that's what Eobard Thawne wants. He wants to be Barry Allen, and he wants the respect on his name. So turn to Proverbs 14:30. Book of Proverbs is a difficult book to study. You can grab a paperback from under the chair in front of you. You can download the Bible app for free. But Book of Proverbs, difficult book to study because like every verse is a different topic. It just keeps changing topics. So you kind of have to do your homework if you want to study a topic in the Book of Proverbs and pull those nuggets together and grab them on any particular subject and arrange them. But the main question through the Book of Proverbs is with any of these topics, whether it's pride, debt, gossip, laziness, hard work, saving money, discipline, the question is with this thing being talked about, is it wise or is it foolish? Is it wise? Is it wisdom or is it folly? And that's the Book of Proverbs through and through. I have loved this proverb since college. I love the vividness of it. It's this wisdom saying that I've loved for a long time now. Proverbs 14:30 says this, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." It is such a vivid picture. Other translations of this proverb give it this, this strikingly uncomfortable feel by saying, like the New Living Translation, envy is like cancer in the bones. Or God's Word translation, envy is like bone cancer. It's trying to give you this stark picture of this is not good. It's clear and an ominous warning that envy is like this vicious bone cancer that literally eats away at people's well-being, including their physical health. Envy hurts your physical health too. So it's unwise, it's unhealthy, it's ungodly. And bones, I think the idea of like the skeleton is such a great metaphor for just like, this is your health and your strength that eats away at. It eats away your health, your strength, your whole self, the status of your whole person. And the rottenness of the bones, it represents a serious condition that's moral, spiritual, and physical decay. And so how does someone get to the state of health, like rotting bones? It's tolerating or nurturing an attitude of envy. Like I'm not actively noticing it or battling it, and it begins to rot away and ruin your life. That's why envy is included in the man-made list that we call the 7 deadly sins. That's why envy is included in those deadly, rotting sins. It's Brad Pitt saying, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" Thank you, guys. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? What's in the box? 7, the movie. Okay, if you haven't seen it, for shame. It is very dark and depressing, and you need to see it. That's my recommendation. But yeah, that's envy is in the deadly sins. Why? Because envy rots the bones. Envy. Rick Springfield, he had the bone rot, man. He wished that he had Jesse's girl. He can't live life because he's always thinking about the fact that Jesse has this girl and he wants that girl, and it rots his bones. It's all he can think about. He's writing songs about it. Get a hobby, dude. It's Rick Springfield. And then Paul Russell. This is for the next generation. Okay, so for those of you who are like, what was this thing about memes? What is a meme? How do you even spell that? Paul Russell wants someone else's little boo thing, okay? There you go, shooting that shot like 2K. The whole time in the song, he's pushing up on this girl who has a man, and he's saying, tell him his time's limited because you found something a little too fresh over here. He's trying to steal someone else's girlfriend. That's the little boo thing. It's not really your boo thing. It's somebody else's. It's envy, man. Rots the bones. We heard about it last week in Momentum's Financial Peace University elective. Talked about marketing a whole bunch, just like in this financial elective that we're doing, and how marketing, it talked a lot about the brain science behind it. But one of the things it talks about a little bit was just the idea that marketing is built on envy and discontentment. Just think about the idea of like, here's something that intelligent, sexy, stylish people have, and you don't have it. Here's some place that intelligent, sexy, stylish people go, you've never been there. And that's marketing. That's marketing. It's to create this discontent. But I need that. And your bones start rotting until you can get it. I'll put it on credit. We'll do it now. I got to go. That's where stylish, sexy, intelligent people go. And so God also includes envy and kind of this family of sins that come from envy in his David Letterman top 10 list in Exodus 20. It's actually called the 10 Commandments. But the 10th and final of the commandments, Exodus 20:17, I like how that just like slowly built. Just slowly built. Like, we're not going to come there right away with you. Just give me a minute. My spouse got it. Okay, now I'm thinking about it. I got it. But yeah, in Exodus 20, verse 17, the last of the 10 Commandments, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Why? Because it will rot your bones, wanting other people's stuff, wanting their relationships, wanting anything that's theirs, not yours. And it happens in so many everyday ways with envy and rivalry. It creeps into your bones, comparing your career to someone else's successes, subtly rooting against someone so that you look better. It goes on and on. Social media comparison. You're flipping through and you're like, why is their life so much better than mine? Let me go to their account. Look at all this. Man, look at the places they go and the friends they have. Or competing spiritually. Man, they're a lot more respected in the church than I am. And it starts to bug you. It starts to eat at you. So you start to undercut them. Parenting comparisons. Like, man, their kids are doing better than my kids. They're doing better. And it's that envy. Diminishing other people's success so that you feel better. Or turning friendships into silent competitions. Like, man, we're really good friends, but I am silently starting to compete with them. I want to win. And to take it to its fullest extent, to show you biblically, envy is evil. I mean, it's not like, a little bit of envy. It's evil. In fact, one of the hints at that is in Isaiah 14. It seems to allude to the fact that Lucifer, the angel in God's service, he envied God's glory, position, and throne, which led to his rebellion and fall. Isaiah 14:13. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. Stars are often a metaphor for angels. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High. That's God. And so envy, it's not pushing it too far to say it's satanic. Like, we'll see it more in a scripture coming up. But let's talk a little bit about how to battle the silver ring. We are going to talk about how to battle bone rot. The bone rot of envy. So, well, let's start with this. Who do we typically tend to envy? This is very general, but I think it is helpful to think of it in this way. I think first, it's often people who have the same or similar gifts as us. You know, we're on the same team together. We play similar roles. You know, we're both athletes. We're both good at sales. We're both strategic. We're both playing an instrument. We're both creative, or we're both analytical. I'm better than they are. And we start to compare ourselves, and we start to envy when they have a win. Or sometimes it's people who are just gifted at stuff that's completely the opposite as us. And it's so opposite, we're like, I've always wanted to do that, but I can't do that. Like, who doesn't want to be a great singer? Man, I hate Andre Frazier, this guy over here. Just flowing like Belle Biv DeVoe, you know, just... See, that's why I envy, because I can't do that. I can't do it. And so it's poison, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, a lot of people aren't singers, so they wish they were singers. A lot of people aren't funny, so they wish they were funny. I'm funny as frick, okay? A lot of people, you know, if you're not naturally intelligent, someone next to you is really intelligent, they're popping off, you're like, man, I wish I was like that. And you start to envy. I wish I was like that. And so one way to battle the bone rot of envy is you have to shift from comparison to calling. Okay, now, one, I think 90% of it for most people, or maybe it's for 90% of the people, it's if you just are more aware of envy, you're like, I want to fight it. I want to battle it, okay? So to think about, man, I got to stop comparing, and I have to focus on calling. It's stop comparing. Mind your business. That's their business, okay? Don't be Eobard Thawne. Forget about Barry Allen. That's his business. Mind your business. What are you supposed to be doing? All right? Now, I want to focus on the kind of envy that Eobard Thawne struggled with. It wasn't that he wanted Barry Allen's house or his cool gadgets. It was he wanted his life. He wanted the respect on his name. He wanted his gifts and powers. And so he struggled with that. And this is one huge lesson from reverse flash that definitely translates to the real world. And that is, envy can cause you to fight someone else's God-given calling. You start envying someone and you're like, I wish I was as good at this thing that we both do. Or I wish I was good at that thing that they do, but I'm not gifted to do. You can start to fight their God-given calling. Let that sink in. This is one of the reasons that envy is so evil. And think about it in the context of church or in the context of work. It just creates division and strife. So God has given them gifts and talents and opened doors for them, but maybe you are opposing them, blocking them, discouraging them, making them feel guilty, telling them they're selfish because they're using their gifts or walking through these doors, booing them in your own way, trying to merge into their lane, trying to steal their role from them, sabotaging them when you can. Like, that is just so evil because God has given them these gifts and he's opened these doors, and it's all because of ego and insecurity. I want that. I want to be seen doing what they... So stop comparing. Mind your business. That's their business, okay? Reverse Flash didn't just want to be the Flash. He wanted the Flash not to be the Flash. And so he's trying to get in his lane and then destroy his life. Okay, so listen to this passage from the New Testament, written by a major leader in the church in Jerusalem, which was kind of looked at as the center of Christianity. It's where it blew up. It's where the resurrection of Jesus happened after the crucifixion. This is written by the half-brother of Jesus, James. He said, "If you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth." He says, now think about what we just talked about with the wisdom from Proverbs. Such wisdom, air quotes, does not come down from heaven, but it is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. He says that's what bitter envy and selfish ambition are. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. So picture a community of people where everybody wants to be the best at the thing that they do. I want to be the best singer, the best administrator, the most charismatic. I want to be the most charming. I want to be the most whatever it is. And just the division and the fighting. Or, here's my gift, but I want your gift. I want to be good at the thing that you're good at. He's like, man, in that kind of place, every kind of disorder and every evil practice when envy is nurtured. And so if you don't learn to celebrate someone else's calling, you may end up resenting their calling and eventually fighting their calling. Mind your business. What is your business? That's theirs. And this is a double whammy, because this is what's the other side of the coin, is envy can cause you to fight someone else's God-given calling. Meanwhile, you're missing your own. All of that time that you are putting into, like, I wish I was as good. I wish I did what they did. I wish I had the respect that they had. Whatever it is, all that time you're missing your own calling. It is hard enough to find your calling that God has given you and to figure out what your gifts are and to develop them and to serve God. That stuff's hard enough when you're not worried about what somebody else is doing. Mind your business. Like what they're doing, that's their business. So what is God's calling and plan for Eobard Thawne? Like, he wanted someone else's gifts and callings, and instead of discovering and develop his own. And so, he has intelligence and resources and, lives in this peaceful future society. And so, but envy convinced him that, man, if I can't be Barry Allen, then my life has no value. That's who I want to be. And he just chases after that. So reverse flash, it's what happens when an admiration turns into envy and people try to live out someone else's calling instead of accepting the one that God gave them. So what is God's calling and plan for you? What are the jobs that God is giving you? Short-term jobs, long-term jobs? That's what a calling is. What jobs is he giving you? What's his plan for you? You'll never know unless you stop chasing their calling and trying to ruin and sabotage what they're trying to do with their life based on what they think God is calling them to do. God didn't call you to be Barry Allen. He didn't call me to be Barry Allen. He didn't call you to be 21 Pilots. He didn't call you to be Eminem. He didn't call you to be Taylor Swift. Praise the Lord. He didn't call you to be Beyonce. He didn't call you to be Donovan Mitchell. He didn't call you to be Andre Frazier. He didn't call you to be Dan Smith. He didn't call you to be Jason Campbell. He didn't call you to be Bob Ross. He called you to be you. And so it takes so much time and effort to figure out, okay, who's God calling me to be? What does he call me to do? What gifts has he given me? I got to develop those gifts. So what is envy or your selfish competitive spirit keeping you from doing that you should be doing? Being a better parent, being a better spouse, discovering and developing your gifts. Mind your business. Mind your business and be like, what is the business that God has given me? Another thing for battling bone rot, and this is pretty simple. Encourage, encourage, encourage. This is helpful even when you're not struggling with envy. This is helpful with people that maybe you envy some people. This is good. Apply this to everyone. Encourage, encourage, encourage. Verbal encouragement to people that you are tempted to envy, it says out loud when you say, I'm really proud of you. Man, that was a great job that you did it, your thing. And people who are words of encouragement, that's their love language, to be specific. What is the specific thing they did well? And when you're specific about it, that is so encouraging to them. It was specifically how you did this, the way you organized this, the way you put this together, the way you thought through this, whatever it is, and it forces your heart to feel. Like, man, that must have felt good from them to hear and to see someone noticed what they did and the hard work or thought they put into this, and it forces your pride to shrink. Back when Shannon and I were in college, my wife Shannon and I were in this singing ensemble called Destiny. In fact, the inside of her wedding ring says it was Destiny because that's where we met. And so I know, that's a cheesy. And I wish I had ideas like that for a wedding ring. I wish I did. Okay. So half of you hate me. So we're in this singing ensemble called Destiny, and it was like 14 people, 12 singers, 2 techs, and we traveled around. We did 8 concerts a week in the summer, and we sang. I was a sound tech the first week. You could tell by the way I sang earlier. I was a sound tech. And the second year I did sing in the group, but we traveled around and one of the things that we did constantly was every once in a while, we would have a night where we did what we called an encouragement session. And we would sit our chairs in a circle of 14 people, and we would go around, and whoever, was first, we'd go in a circle, and we'd start with one person, and we'd just say, what do you love about this person? And everyone in the group would just lather them with encouragement and things they see, things that maybe they didn't see in themselves. And we just encourage on to the next person. And it took a long time, because it's 14 people, and everybody wants to say something or talk. And so, man, it was just the way that it's uncomfortable, but it was good. And so then, eventually, there got to be a time where Shannon and I decided to adopt that for our family birthdays. When we had a birthday dinner with our kids, we would say, okay, it's Zion's birthday, right? We'd order the food while we're waiting for the food or whatever. We'd say, okay, everybody, let's talk about what do we love about Zion. And we would just pepper him with the things that we see in him. I see in you this. I love you because of this. You're so great at this. And it, is so great to just pepper him with that. And then eventually, we started forcing our values upon our friends. We would have birthday dinners with a friend, and, our MC Leah, for instance, if it's her birthday, we'd be like, hey, we'd shut the whole party down during dinner. We'd be like, hey, what does everybody love about Leah? Where's this coming from, or whatever? And everybody starts peppering Leah with the things they love about. That's pretty easy to pepper Leah with things that we loved about Leah. And so it's just this thing that, man, it is so uncomfortable, but it's so good. And what it does is it trains up those muscles, why we wanted to teach our kids that, is because it trains up those muscles of you got to be a good encourager and you got to learn to receive encouragement. And both are really, really hard. But you know what? It's really, obviously, it really decreases the amount of envy in a group of friends and siblings and all that stuff, when you are constantly hearing from your siblings, man, this is what I love about you. This is what you're good at. I'm not good at this, and you are, and I celebrate that. And it really helps to battle back. So encourage, encourage, encourage. And don't worry about whether the person you're encouraging gets a big head. Mind your business. That's between them and God. That is between them and God. You can't control that. Just encourage, 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 encourage. And while you're battling envy, you are developing a godly virtue. And then the last thing is celebrate others' victories. Very similar to encouragement, but celebrate others' victories. This is important whether you envy them or not. Again, it's kind of a wide-ranging virtue that's good to work on. This is a simple but incredible verse. I've loved this verse also for a long time. Shannon and I have talked about this a lot through many years. The Apostle Paul tells us in Romans 12:15, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Which of those is harder? For me personally, it's easier to mourn with those who mourn. A friend of mine is crushed by something, grief, something terrible happens. It is much easier for me to see that pain and to empathize and be like, man, that's awful. I'm so sorry. I'll be praying for you. You want to hang out, want to talk, whatever. Just try to be there for them while they grieve something. What's much harder is when someone else is getting a victory when you have been longing for a victory. To rejoice with those who rejoice. I mean, think about this. When you are single and lonely, and you are patiently waiting for the right person who's on the same spiritual page as you, and your friend announces their engagement. Oh, it hurts. And to learn to have your knee-jerk reaction be rejoice with those who rejoice. That's tough. When you are struggling with infertility, as Shannon and I did for years, and someone tells you they're pregnant, and they weren't even trying, you're like, oh, man. To learn to rejoice with those who rejoice through that is such a spiritual discipline. When you are feeling unnoticed and someone else receives an award or gets a promotion or receives public praise, to rejoice with those who rejoice, like to practice applauding others even when it's difficult, even when it's the exact same thing that you have been longing for, praying for, to be like, I'm going to celebrate with you. Because here's the point. Someone else's win is not your loss. Someone else's win is not your loss. It's not like God is up in heaven like, okay, there's two of you and I got one blessing right now. I got one blessing. That's not how it is. Okay, there's two of you. I got one happy ending. Which one of you? You know what? You suck. You're awesome, happy. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. Sometimes there's zero happy endings for both people. There's no connection whatsoever. Sometimes there's two happy endings. Sometimes there's one, and it just happens to be that God blessed them with something, and it's not something you are going to have right now or maybe ever. But there's no connection between those. It's not how it works. And so we've been teaching our kids this also for a long time of just, man, celebrate people's victories. Celebrate them. Don't be jealous. Celebrate your friends' victories with them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Why? Because it's pure evil to despise another person for them receiving good things. It is absolutely selfish, and their win is not your loss. So celebrate with others without internal comparison. You can say, that's awesome for them, without adding, and I wish I had it. That's awesome for them, period. Rejoice with those who rejoice. You know, sibling rivalry is one of those most common forms of competition and envy. In fact, I think it's really interesting that Jesus told a story that has many levels to the meaning, but there's the meaning that we usually pull out of it, which is the main meaning. But I think it's interesting that he talked about two fictional brothers who were very different from one another in Luke 15. Younger brother was kind of an impetuous, pleasure-seeking rebel. Older son was like a proud, self-righteous, rule-following goody two-shoes. And neither of them understood the father's love for them completely. And the younger son shames his father, asks for his inheritance early, and leaves to squander it. he goes off partying in the far-off country. We're here at MTV Spring Break in the far-off country, and things are going wild here. And he's off there partying. He is living it up. He's snorting stuff off lines off coffee tables. There's women. It's on and on and on. Just liquor and you name it. And so he's partying up, but eventually he comes to his senses. He hits rock bottom, and he repents. He comes back to the father's home. And the father so loves him that he is relieved and full of joy, that he throws a party for the younger son. He kills the fattened calf to throw a party. The fattened calf is like the one calf in the back of the pen that's real doughy, because every time someone walks by the fence, they're feeding it a Butterfinger through the fence. So there's this fat calf in the back, just this doughy mug. And they're like, we're killing that one fattened calf that we've been fattening up for this kind of party. And he throws a party for him, a banger, for this young son, who that's what he left to do. But funny enough, he found out the party was actually at home with the father. There's all kinds of points in the story. But listen to what happens next, because the story is actually more about this brother than it is the prodigal, wasteful brother. It's why the story is told. And so it says in verse 25, meanwhile, Jesus said, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. I've been following the rules. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him. And so there's a lot of points to this story, super spiritual points. But there's also some simple points, and simple points are just kind of simply like, knock it off, older brother. Swallow your pride. Get in the house and celebrate with your brother. Like, his win isn't your loss. And this kind of stuff, us refusing to celebrate with our siblings, to enjoy the way our parents are celebrating what they have done well and their gifts, this is the stuff that divides and breaks up families. This is the reason we have separate holiday celebrations, is because I can't say, man, that is good for you. Good for you. Like, well done. 1 Corinthians 13 says, love is patient and it's kind and it does not envy. That's love. And so celebrate others intentionally. Eobard Thawne, it's like he never grows. There's so many stories and, different timelines. It's like MCU in a sense, where it gets confusing with time travel and timelines. But one thing that's consistent through these stories is just Eobard Thawne. He's never growing. He never evolves. He just stays the same. And there comes this really an interesting story where Barry Allen chooses to take the first step, and he tells Eobard Thawne, he says, I forgive you. And Eobard Thawne, his response is, you what? Like, all I've done is try to ruin your life and destroy everything. I killed Doug, your childhood friend. I killed your mother, which is a major story in the theme of Barry Allen's life and in Reverse Flash's life, is that he killed Barry Allen's mother. And it just goes on and on and on. And then Barry Allen responds in this way. He says this. He says, you and I are trapped in a loop. I've tried to move forward so many times. I've tried to live my life in a way that I can help others. But maybe I'm stuck in this cycle because you are still trapped in the past. And that's double meaning, because he's trapped in the 21st century, which is his past. So he's trapped in the past. And it's my hate for you that keeps me tethered to you. I have to let it go. And it's one of those moments where comic books become real life. You're like, whoa, someone has gone through something like this or seen it, because this is so real. I have to forgive you and let it go, because if I keep hating you for what you're doing to me, we're tethered together. So I'm going to break that tether, and I say, I forgive you. And this is powerful, because if you're on the other side of this, someone has been jealous of you, they've competed with you, they've tried to steal your little boo thing, they've criticized your spiritual gifts behind your back, they've tried blocking your calling, or they've traveled from the 25th century to now to kill your childhood best friend. Whatever it is, forgive them. Let that go. Release it. Jesus commands us to release it And what's interesting in the comic books is that somehow Barry Allen's forgiveness made Reverse Flash disappear from the 21st century, from his own past, made him disappear, and it sent him back to the 25th century. So Eobard Thawne is, by that forgiveness, sent back to the 25th century. And what we find in this, it kind of erases all this stuff that Eobard Thawne had done, trying to pursue and trying to chase after and go after the Flash. And so what happens is we find out that he's the curator at the museum for the Flash, and he takes pride in it. He's the curator at this museum, and it's in a time where there's not much crime, so there's not much need for superheroes, but they need historians, and that's what Eobard Thawne is. And he discovers that, and he becomes the curator, but now he's proud of how he contributes to society. That is his calling. Let's pray.